Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil.
This was one of the most desperate human beings I had ever talked to.
Kelli Stapleton was charged with trying to kill her autistic daughter.
You attempted to end both of your lives, and you failed.
Epically failed.
She claims her daughter's violent fits put her family in danger.
Her daughter gets agitated easily.
Izzy's aggression was so severe that Kelli suffered brain injuries.
She gave her black eyes, a fractured cheek.
She would knock her unconscious and then continue to beat her. You know, being here in jail, you are away from all of that turmoil. Has there been any guilty pleasure of relief at not having to deal with it?
The jail of Benzie County has been a much kinder warden than the jail of autism has been.
Now, Dr. Carole Lieberman spent 20 hours over a period of 3 days doing a clinical interview with Kelli, and she's here today. Dr. Lieberman, I think everybody does want to understand what her mental state and condition was at the time. What can you say about that?
Well, you know, what's important to realize is that Izzy was diagnosed when she was 2 years old. When Izzy got to be 8 years old, she became violent. She had these tantrums, these aggressive tantrums. And the bigger Izzy got, the more violent these tantrums were. And she gave her black eyes, she gave her a fractured cheek, nose. She was hitting her in the head all the time, kicking her in the abdomen all the time. And the final two things were when she hit her head so hard that she lost consciousness. The key is, I diagnosed Kelli with a number of disorders, including post-traumatic stress disorder. It was a war zone in her home. When that day, on September 3rd, 2013, she was in a dissociated state. To her, it wasn't murder or killing. She was, in her mind, taking her to heaven. She was accompanying her to heaven. And that was totally dissociated from murder, killing, anything else. She was doing this as a sacrifice.
Even though not intentional, do you believe Izzy would eventually have killed her?
Yes, I do. Because the violence was escalating. The last two severe things were loss of consciousness. I mean, she could have died then.
You know, one of the things I asked Kelli is, did she have information as when she would be knocked out, whether Izzy would continue to beat her after she was unconscious? And she said there was no question about it, that she would knock her unconscious and then continue to beat her.
Absolutely. And one of the things that they were thinking of when the school rejected Izzy was Kelli was even willing to go back to where the original treatment center was to continue Izzy in the school that she was going to there. And she was going to live with Izzy alone in an apartment there. And she was terrified because she figured Izzy would kill her. And also, Izzy would do something like inadvertently start a fire on the stove trying to cook, and she'd kill herself too.
And, you know, that's the reality that we're talking about here. I want to thank all of my guests today. A special thanks to Dr. Carole Lieberman for her expertise on Kelli's case. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much. Dr. Lieberman, thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Thanks, guys.